Please be seated. I have some creatures over here. I think they were re-entered into the menagerie there. That's okay. So this is a really, really interesting Bible story, right? Because when we think about Jesus, we think about someone who is very meek and mild and very kind, and it's true. You remember the story about when there were all of these kids and they wanted to come visit with Jesus and talk to him, and the disciples, Jesus' sort of adult friends, were like, no, kids, stay away, this is an important person. And Jesus said, he got mad at the adults, and he said, no, let the children come unto me. I want to meet these people. I want to talk to them. They are just as important, maybe even more important than the adults. So there is a lot of truth in the fact that Jesus was incredibly kind. Yes, sir?
And he is actually the Son of God.
And he's the Son of God. Yeah, it's true.
Then he needs to be.
Yeah.
Because God actually made kind.
God made kindness, yeah. But this story is interesting because in this story, Jesus gets really mad. Have you ever been really mad? Yeah. Did you know that you can be kind and loving and also get mad sometimes? That's just a part of being human. Jesus got really mad at these people who were selling stuff in the temple. And so what happened in the temple is that there were these sacrifices that were made. And I'm going to use peacocks because we don't have any doves, right? So people would come to the temple with animals that they would use to make a sacrifice to God, a way of worshiping God. And they wouldn't bring peacocks, but they would bring things like doves and sheep, right? And when they got to the temple, there was an official there who it was their job to inspect the sacrifice. And if the sacrifice wasn't good enough, they'd say, oh, sorry, not good enough, but you can buy this sacrifice for a low price of $19.99 or something like that, right? And so what Jesus was upset about was actually the fact that these officials were exploiting people. You know what that means? They were taking advantage of the fact that people had to have a sacrifice, and their sacrifice might be perfectly good, but instead of allowing them to have the sacrifice that they had, they were selling them another sacrifice at a higher price. Yes?
You actually don't need to do that.
Correct. That is true.
You just need to say, that is not fair.
Yeah.
Because you just need to do what you got.
That's right. So that's actually that's a really good point. So Jesus got angry and he overturned the tables of the money changers, the people who were. That was another thing. There was, you had the currency of the Roman Empire, but that wasn't good enough. So you had to change your currency to a different kind of currency in order to buy the sacrifice. And people were making a profit from something that should be absolutely and totally free. Guess what is absolutely and totally free? What?
You actually can ride horses, and that is actually.
What is free?
I do horses because you can go anywhere.
Oh, what's the thing about that? What I was thinking was absolutely and totally and 100% free is God's love for you. And we can talk more about sacrifices at another time. There is a reality that God is really big and really other, and sacrifice has to do with trying to figure out how you have a relationship with a God who is so big and vast that it's hard to even imagine. But Jesus, because as Reed tells us, Jesus is God's Son. Jesus fills that intermediary between the great, big, vast divine on the one hand and us humans on the other. And God always provides what we need. God always provides a sacrifice. Even back then, the animals, God provided those. God always provides what we need to have a relationship with God. And God's love for us is always, 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 always free. Like, it's a really crazy thought because there are not very many free things in the world. And there are not, sometimes there are, ways that we exploit people. Sometimes there are ways that we get exploited. There's not very many free things in the world. But God's love for us, hold on a second. God's love for us is absolutely free. And so in a minute, we are going to pass around the offering plate. But guess what? You're not buying God's love. You might choose to help support the ministry of the church. You might also, I was talking about bringing food. We collect a lot of food and we give it to other people who need food. But you don't have to bring food in order for God to love you. You don't have to put money in the offering plate in order for God to love you. And if we ever decided to do that, then Jesus would be very justified in coming and turning over our offering plate table. Because there is no transaction in God's love and God's grace for you. God's love for you is always, always free.